Hello, daughter. Daughter, sweetheart.
Louise goes to Mount Zion with us, and Carly goes in. Yeah. The Oklahoma line. I live in Bethany. Yeah, that's Bethany. Well, I come to see my mom every Sunday. That's why she's sweetheart Louise.
So will you be here next Sunday?
No. We might get together. She's gonna what to my house for
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. She's coming to my house for dinner. Yeah, she's coming over. Yeah.
So it's a couple.
Yeah. It's halfway.
You can meet halfway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Get up, get
I'm sorry. I'll pass you up for these two and then I'll come back. Hang in there. Hang in there.
Well, I my wife.
Not a God. And like I said, Gary, yeah. I heard now that I'm sorry. I'm gonna go to the car.
Really?
I'm gonna go get some.
No, I know.
Good afternoon. I'm Ronnie Fields. I'm the senior minister here at First Christian Church, and I am so thankful that you are here to witness and enjoy the presentation on the Interfaith Holy Land Tour. I'm jealous of all of you who got to go to that and experience that together. So I'm looking forward to it. A couple of housewarming, welcoming things, just in case you need to know. Restrooms are out that door and down the hallway to the left. Will be on your right. There's a women's, and there's a water fountain there as well. And then also following the presentation, they're down, keep going all the way down the hall, and fellowship hall will have refreshments and snacks, including cookies. On the agenda. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Okay. Don't mind me. So I'm excited to hear what they have to share. And so without further ado, I will turn that over to them. Thank you for being here. This is how we want on the trip.
We really do love each other here.
Forgot that change that.
Thank you, Reverend Reverend Fields. This is a great thing. My name is Jim Holden. I am fortunate to have been someone from this community that got selected to go on this trip. There was a kind of a stiff application process. And to start with my pastor, Martin Cook over there. She signed off. And the next one is not here. Reverend Dr. Rockford Johnson, our district superintendent, he signed off, and then this man here had to sign off, and he fed me cookies one time in the mosque, so I figured he would do that. And then, of course, I think that's it. So, I think that's about it. I worked in my notes. My name is Jim Holden, right? So, what's it say in the program? Yes, Reverend Dr. Taverny is not here. He called in and said he couldn't make it because he's an Australian guy, the leader of Executive Secretary, right? Executive Director of Oklahoma Conference of Churches. And so he's not going to be here, so in his place, Bill Gordon is going to take his place. So, Dr. Gordon. Yeah, that's a wire mic there. So you can tell with the wire.
Dr. Taverny is older and wiser than I am. Not many people older anymore. A lot more that are wiser. He was originally Dutch. His father unsuccessfully attempted to preserve the life of his wife from Nazi bombing in Rotterdam in World War II, and then remarried Dr. Havernay's mom, married Dr. Havernay's mom, and decided that he wanted to get his kid out of Europe because of all the hell that it was going through and had been through. And so immigrated to Australia. I say that because you have to understand that his accent is Dutch and Australian. So just pretend that I'm doing that. It'll be fun. This was in part his brainchild, and part the brainchild of Rabbi Harris, Dr. Chauncey, and Rabbi Abbey, and I don't know who else on the panel today. They formed a subcommittee of the Oklahoma Conference of Churches called Religions United. That's the on which we went. Rabbi Harris came and talked to the leaders of the Conference of Churches one day, and began growing out support. We kind of got off to a slow start as far as how many were signing on, but it built as the time got closer. I'll tell you later when I have a word or two on my own about how I kind of went into one idea of how it was going to be like, even out of a different idea what it was going to be like. We were funded in part by the Zero Foundation. I'm supposed to say that. They did a good job. Got us money. I'm Roman Catholic, so I hit up my bishop for some money. He said yes. And one of our other young ladies was from Roman Catholic as well, so she did the bishop work wherever I left, and she went as well. They are, what's the date for the next proposed? 13th. I'll settle this. We were so successful that there's another one in the works. And when you hear our stories, I think you will probably want to know it. We were sort of walk in as clergy or close to clergy, and this time around, but next time around, the tide will be loose for a little bit. So I think I take that as well. Thanks for your thoughts.
I think Dr. Chauncey's next.
Well, if you allow me to do the most Islamic thing first in a church, can I do that? Take it selfie.
The catalog of the entire church. That's why.
Okay, so this will be on social media, and FBI will contact you very soon. I don't know how much time we have. I wasn't kidding when I said this is the way Jim was lost. How long? How many times? We can't count. We can't count how many times he was lost. So,
We got us back, that's important, the next time.
you know, I cannot help to think, but I am the elephant in the room. And maybe I'm the elephant in the church today. Many of you probably never met a Muslim before yet to meet an imam. So quickly, I have 3 points to make. Point number 1 is the simple fact that you know me. If you turn to Genesis, the Hebrew scripture or the Old Testament, you would see the story of Abraham and the story of Abraham's marriage to Sarah. And Sarah could not give Abraham any children at an old age. And Sarah asking Abraham to marry her maid, Hagar. And Hagar began for Abraham, that's all biblical. Hagar began for Abraham Ishmael. And Hagar was biblically banished by Sarah. Islamically, it's a different story, but I'm going with the Bible biblical story. Ishmael and Hagar went to the wilderness of Haran. Haran is today's Mecca. Abraham stopped in a truck stop in between Jerusalem and Haran. We call it biblically Tima. This is the city of Medina, the city of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Ishmael is the great-grandfather of Prophet Muhammad, makes us brothers from different mothers. Whether you want to admit my existence or not, I do exist. I am like this brother that you don't want to tell people that I do exist, you know. The guy that comes on Thanksgiving once in a while, and he's different accent, maybe a little darker, and I do exist because in Genesis, God promised Ishmael to make him into a great nation. And as Hagar ran out of water, God sent Hagar a well of water. To this day, Muslims still drink from. So, having said that, I'm also the elephant in the room because I'm also Palestinian. I am indigenous, my grandfather and my father are indigenous to the city of Jaffa in Palestine. So, when Rabbi Barrett called me and said, you know what, we want to have a trip between Jews, Muslims, and Christians, and we're going to go call it a dual narrative. The simple fact that the word dual is there is a relief. Because what a rabbi would consider a day of independence, for indigenous Palestinians, that's a day of a catastrophe. What a rabbi would consider a hero, or an Israeli will consider a hero, a Palestinian will consider to be not so much of a hero. I was told that it's a Palestinian family that has actually initiated the process. The name of the tour was Majdi Tour, or still is Majdi Tour, and the story intrigued me because why would a Palestinian family would put a trip forward for people of the Abrahamic traditions to come and listen to a dual narrative? And the story was very profound, something you probably would find in all our scriptures, to reveal hate with love, evil with good. See, Majdi was shot by Israeli forces at an early age for throwing rocks at the police. And his family decided to retaliate in the most untraditional way by telling a story about their son through the lenses of peace. So I went. And yes, it was very hard for me because we had to land in an airport called Ben Gurion Airport. Anybody familiar with that name? For many indigenous Palestinians, in particular me, who married an indigenous American of the Cheyenne Nation, Ben Gurion, to us, was a man who was responsible for the Trail of Tears for Palestinians. In particular, my grandfather and my father, who actually fled that particular area to a nearby Lebanon. To land at that airport, my heart was pounding. But I was willing to listen to a different narrative. We landed, and right there, I was asked to take a picture that says, "Welcome to Israel." Another challenge. Because for me, that land was Palestine. And as Rabbi Barrett, a dear friend I might add, and a dear colleague, and a dear sister, and as Rabbi Jacobson, who's sitting here today, we might call it Israel all day long. I will call it Palestine all day long. But we decided for a chance to change our language and call it the Holy Land. We found common language. As I continue, and you're going to see some of the slides, I want to bring 2 points. Point number 1, which happened to us day 1. We could not look at that trip as maybe Jewish, Christians, or Muslims, because above all that, or mixed up with all that, is an American identity. So as we landed
And as we started to look at some discrimination that was perpetrated against the entire group on both sides, we couldn't help but to think from our American perspective. First day we got there, we were at the Muslim holy sites, and I was looking at Rabbi Berry as she walked in the Muslim holy sites, and she saw the remnants of the temple with tears in her eyes, and she looked at me. Now, on the top of the remnants of the temple are the holiest, or the third holiest place for Muslims, the Dome of the Rock and the Aqsa Mosque. And here it is, the Muslims in the group, this is the first time they have seen those holy places. I've been there before. And the guide told us, by the way, we have an Israeli guide who's Jewish and a Muslim guide who's a Palestinian. The Israeli guide said only Muslims are allowed inside the shrines. And Dr. Cameron there and everybody else that was with the Muslim group would say, let's go inside, let's go inside. And we're like, and leave the rest of the group out? No, we're not going inside. And we did not. And I know I probably broke the heart of the Muslims, but at that moment, all of us looked at each other and thought, surely, as Americans, this is a form of discrimination. We were in a marketplace on a Sabbath. Friday evening, as we walked in the marketplace, the Muslim women who happened to have headscarves, both of them, both their groups were refused service. Can I say that again? We were refused service. But yet, our Jewish friends were the ones who were upset the most. Again, looking at the experience from an American perspective and some theological perspective. Nobody would put up with discrimination, but it was Rabbi Barrett and Rabbi Jacobson who wanted to go back in there and fight. No. And the third part, or the third point I want to make about an American lens that we've been looking through is the simple fact that I know where my grandfather's house is. And the moment I get to that city of Yafa or the city of Java or very close by Tel Aviv, I wanted to be alone. I wanted to take my wife and go to where my grandfather prayed in the mosque. And I wanted to go just walk and sniff the house where my grandfather and father grew. And I was trying to lose the rest of the group. And a Jewish man, this guy right here, wanted to come with me. He prayed with me. And he worked with me as I pointed out, that's my father's house. Here's when my grandfather added this extra addition to the mosque. Here's the ocean, the Mediterranean, where my father used to swim. He actually offered to go inside my grandfather's house where a settler is living now and take him out. I said, no, we're not going to do that.
Why did you want me to do that?
Because I would be the one arrested. No. Second point I want to make, and I'll stop, it's very dangerous to give a microphone to an imam or preacher and a professor at the same time, is the human aspect of this particular trip. A human aspect in a sense that we were in Palestinian territory, and all of a sudden, the Jewish group phone started ringing. There had been a terrorist attack in Jerusalem, not far away from the hotel where we were staying. And I want you to think about how ironic Rabbi Barry would pick up the phone saying, hey, I'm really safe because I'm in Palestine. I'm really safe. I'm in Palestinian territory. But we saw each other comforting one another as that attack took place. The human aspect of bringing to the group a Jewish man and a Muslim man, a Palestinian and an Israeli who are very dear friends, that they met. under very odd circumstances. Both of them had children. They're 7 years old or 9 years old. One was 9 and one was 12. One died in a suicide bombing, and one died by a shot to the head by an Israeli soldier. And they found common humanity. To me, that was very profound, as they showed not only that the name of their daughters is the same, one in Hebrew and one in Arabic, exactly the same name. You will see the name in the presentation. That moment, I looked around the group and everybody was fine. And to see those people actually being called radical, just because they're a father who lost his daughter and another father who lost his daughter, that they're coming together towards peace, that was radical. And maybe the most human part that we have experienced, besides all the talks, we talked about the Holocaust. We saw the Holocaust and we wept for the victims. And you know, there are those of us in the Muslim world and the Arab world who actually deny the Holocaust. Not those of us, those of them. The most profound part of the trip is the simple fact that I took a Catholic young lady and a Jewish young lady. Hey, that's awesome together, for a Jewish and a Catholic together there. And we went to visit my aunt. We went in a taxi to the city of Jericho, and we sat down in my aunt's living room, who's been refugee twice, my own aunt, who still lives there. And we sat down and ate, laughed, and had dessert. My aunt never sat with a Jew before. My aunt never sat with a Christian before. As we were leaving, I told my aunt, you know, this is a Jewish American and a Christian American. She looked at me and she said, but they were nice.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Rabbi Jacobson. It was my colleague, Rabbi Harris, who conceived of the trip from the Jewish side. I just got to tag along. We are from different synagogues. There are 3 synagogues in this half of the state. So if you've never met another Jew before, they are first for all of us. The trip began with a conversation Rabbi Harris and I had during a period of increased terrorism and also of increased military violence in Holy Land. And she was very new to the community, and she said, well, tell me about the Muslims in the community. Tell me about the clergy, organizations. They're fantastic. Had nothing but a great working relationship with them at the time. I had been here for 2 years, and she said, okay, do we talk about tough things? No! No, God, no! Why not? He's Palestinian. We don't talk about that. Well, what do we talk about? Imam and Shasi is one of my 2 closest clergy colleagues, which is ironic because we never see each other except when we're working. But before Rabbi Harris arrived to the community, there were a lot of times where I was the only rabbi doing interfaith work, and Imam and Shasi was the only imam. And so we frequently met on panels, screeching into the parking lot together. What are we doing here, Dad? Who are we talking about? No, that's next week. Are we doing this thing here? So, and I learned a lot from Imam. We've had a very good working relationship. Also, Mike, who works with us through interfaith work from the University Foundation. Once asked us directly in a room, why don't you talk about stuff like that? My answer at the time was, I don't need to hear your family's personal tragedy to know that Israel has done bad things. Which I was very proud of me That was a good answer I gave. But it wasn't a good answer because we don't talk about tough stuff. And because as things got more tense in the Holy Land, we realized that we had a great relationship and we didn't want to sacrifice it on the altar of quiet politeness. And so, at Rabbi Harris's instigation, we met. Mom Chauncey, Adam Soltani, the head of the Council on American Islamic Relations, and Rabbi Harris and me. We met a couple of times, we chatted. Nothing groundbreaking was said, but we talked. We started talking, and the idea of not only acknowledging one another's narrative, but walking one another's narrative became a really good and really valuable idea. And so, Christians, Jews, and Muslims from the greater Oklahoma City area and the greater Tulsa area got together and threw ourselves on an airplane or two and poured ourselves into a bus and made it to a 10-day exhausting trek. Everybody who does tours of the Holy Land does an exhausting 10-day trip. You're not allowed to sleep. You sleep when you're dead. Right now you're in the Holy Land. And we involved ourselves through. Personally, I've lived in Jerusalem for years. It's part of rabbinical school. It's something I did before that. That's where I met my husband. Some of my happiest memories and closest friends were made on those streets during the Second Intifada, which is the second major wave of terrorism in the Holy Land. Living there at that time was very scary. So then, when there was a terrorist incident then, the first thing that happened to me was I went back to 2002, where buses blew up every Saturday night and cafes weren't safe. Only to be supported best by the people around me, most of whom had not lived there. Rabbi Harris lived there, Rabbi King from Tulsa had lived there, and specifically in Israel, Quad Israel, right? Lived there as Jews in Israel. And we supported each other, and we supported each other through a great many things, and we walked each other's narratives. And I grated against my deep-held difficulties in hearing the Palestinian narrative, because I have a lot of knee-jerk reactions. How do I best represent the country of Israel? I best represent the country of Israel, so I was taught, by pushing against certain parts of the narrative. And it was necessary for me to stop that, to start thinking, I'm not here to tell my story. I'm here to hear someone else's story. I felt it was very important to, and the more I think about our trip, the more I think people probably stop listening to me at some point because I talk a lot. Part of me felt like I need to show people around. I need to show the Muslims on our trip that it's not going to be as bad as they thought it was going to be. It's probably not going to be great, but not as bad, right? It wasn't as bad. To text home, thank God I'm in the mall in a state that I never thought I would say before in my life. To be able to welcome people to something that was such an important part of my life, and at the same time, to go into it knowing that I still had some growing and changing to do, some listening, to hear words like occupation and not immediately start fighting, to hear, to grate against the idea of who is indigenous. My ancestors were there from before the year zero. That makes me indigenous. But I'm challenged. My grandparents aren't from there. But someone else's grandparents are from there, but weren't there before the year zero, or were they? And is that what we're really talking about? And at the end of the day, to be able to say there is nothing that I can say about how to fix things, except it's complicated. I mean, take a moment and imagine that every person who has any Native American extraction wants their land back. It can be a very good idea until it's your house. Or, and I'll push it further, it can be a very good idea in theory until you question how many countries in this world are really safe for Jews to go to. If not our homeland, then where can we go that would be safe for us? And at the same time, a Palestinian can ask the same question. Without Palestine, where is it safe for Palestinians to go, truly safe? And what is going to happen after 2025 when the makeup of the current borders of the state of Israel, the population demographics are projected to be 40% Palestinian or Israeli Arab, which means Palestinian with an Israeli passport, and 30% ultra-Orthodox Jewish, and 30% everybody else, including not ultra-Orthodox Jewish, and Druze, and Baha'i, and all of the other, and Bedouin, and all of the other sort of Christian folks that are in between there. And then what do we do? And then we heard Imam reference the two gentlemen who had lost their daughters, where the Jewish Israeli said, pointing to his friend, he said, "This is my friend, and I can't wait for him to be my prime minister." And then I started thinking, what would it look like to live in a state where everybody is an equal citizen and just has to work their stuff out? It scares the heck out of me what's going to happen if there's a Palestinian majority in the Holy Land. As I am sure it is scary to see what would happen if there were a Jewish or Israeli majority in the Holy Land. I think we both have legitimate reasons to worry about that. We both have legitimate connections to the land that we have to acknowledge, because our ancestors didn't live separately in the land. They lived together. They lived completely interwoven in the land. In a checkered landscape that was ruled by other people who, in the case of Rome, sometimes hated us, and in the case of the Ottoman Empire, didn't really hate us, but weren't us. And we lived in that checkered landscape. And we have to acknowledge that. And in order to acknowledge that, we have to confront the fact that that change is going to be scary, but it's going to be necessary. It's going to be a heck of a lot better to confront scary things, in my opinion, than to hide behind walls and distinctions and ethnicities and pretend that there aren't other people around, because there's only so much you can do of pretending nobody else is here in a country that's the size of New Jersey. So I felt really privileged to go. I felt privileged to be able to say that as a Jewish person, I lived my relationship with Israel in the complexity of knowing that it's land that's sacred to other people and it's land that's home to other people too. And that it is with open eyes that I still celebrate my love of that land, even knowing that some of the ways it was gotten were terrible and continue to be hurtful to other people. As I think we all have to acknowledge that we have the things that we love even here in America at the cost of some other people's happiness, and that's not life, and that has to be something that we acknowledge, we live with, and we move forward to make sure that we do our best going forward, whether that means reconciliation of the past or whether it means simply being better in the future. And anybody who tells me they have the answer to the political situation in the Middle East easily solved, there are so many people who think it's not difficult. Everybody thinks they have the answer. Ride in a cab in the Holy Land and they've got the answer for you, and they'll tell it to you and you'll believe it. But maybe he needs to spend some time there and see the complexity of it, because as we kept saying, it's complicated.
Just a little about those speakers. Bill Gordon, of course, was another link in the chain that got me on this trip, so you guys need to him. The Imam, if you play your card, he can introduce you in a skinny. Right?
Used to what?
Introduce people, you can introduce them to this camera. And Abby, I hung out with her a lot because she was like a walking encyclopedia. And she said to me, well, maybe that's more than you wanted to know. And I said, no. I wanted you to know that. Didn't I say that to you? All
And
right.
I thought you were being polite then, and I still think you're.
And so, Hebrew, speak Hebrew. And anything else?
Do I speak other languages? Yes, I speak other languages.
Old people.
Okay. The imam, of course, speaks Arabic, which these two came in handy when they were. Okay, it's time for the, usually this is thought of as punishment. You have to look at people's vacation pictures, but we're gonna try it here. And Mike and Bill, Mike Cornwood is gonna stand in for Aaliyah Shimmick. She was one of the good mates, and she has some health problems. And so you guys want to alternate every other slide and see what picture group. And Ronnie back there is gonna wait until you finish reading before he advances. Did you hear that?
That's right.
That's what I thought.
I'm trying to walk.
This is how it was.
Who are you?
So I think I did I do the moonwalk? Okay, so Ronnie's gonna not advance the slide until you're finished reading. All right, go.
The walls of the old city, rebuilt by the Turkish Ottoman Empire between 1537 and 1541. Average height 39 feet, 8 feet thick, 2.5 running miles, 34 watchtowers.
Entrance to the Temple Mount. You can see the dome of rock on top there. And just in front of it, behind the trees there is where the Al-Aqsa Mosque is.
You know, on Friday, there was, in preparation for prayers, there was the Israeli Defense Force had 15 bands of people wearing vests and dark clothing and stuff like that. It's all attention.
I was going to say, in the mosque itself, where once Cameron finally got to go in there, they went in Friday night and for services, and there were, 40,000, 50,000 people? 30,000 people were inside that single mosque. So it gives you an idea of how large the mosque is.
Eldad Brent, AKA Old Dude, AKA El Dude, I think. A PhD student in geography, University of Haifa, former Israeli soldier. I'm sure that's appropriate down there, but it's still, it's not former, they're just all. At a NERC, BA Business Administration, History, Geography, Religion, Hebrew, University of Jerusalem. I'm going to say it straight out, these two gentlemen were brutally frank with us. Whether you were Christian, Jewish, or Muslim, they were brutally frank with each other and with us. And before we left, the night before we left, I said to them, keep your honesty. The only thing you're going to regret later is if you give it up.
If I can say something about old dude there, the Israeli. It was interesting because we went into the territories as Abby mentioned in Ramallah, and we were there during the terrorist action that took place in Jerusalem. And we were coming back out, and we had to stop at a checkpoint. We had to stop at a number of checkpoints when we were driving the territories. So Imad and his wife, Judith, always sat in the first two seats. He's got on his Jewish helmet on there. And
We were randomly elected.
so the Israelis were coming on. We were told everybody needed to get their passports out so that they could be checked. So Imad and Judith were sure they would want to be selected and asked to come on the bus as the other Muslims that were on the trip with us, including Cameron in down there. And dude who always sat up in front of the bus, the Israeli tour guide, got up before we got to the checkpoint and walked to the back of the bus, and he sat down on the chairs next to somebody. Couldn't figure out what he was doing. Israelis are not allowed to be in those areas. You have to have a visa, which all of us had when we got it when we came to Israel. He didn't have a visa. And instead of carrying his Israeli passport with him, he was carrying his Polish passport. His mother was from Poland, and he had dual citizenship, but he had a Polish passport. That's what he used because Israelis were not allowed to go in there. So when they finally got back to him and asked for his passport, and they saw the Polish passport, he said, "Where's your visa?" They said, "Well, I can have one." And so they yanked him off the bus, and it was the Israeli Jew who was questioned, not Imam, not the other four Muslims on the trip with us, but it was the Israeli Jew who was taking him off. And it was, he must take 30 minutes, I guess, to wait there, taking him through and have to do the whole computer. So it just goes to show what it's like there, even for a Jew who wants to go into the territories and visit, can't do it in certain areas. And so, yeah, that was stuff I was showing after that. So I just wanted to say that when Rabbi and everybody else jokes about it's complicated, it does go to show you how complicated it is. And they told him to never do that again. And here he wasn't Israeli, that great soldier didn't have it. Dome of the Rock, built on the site of Herod's temple, which was destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE, common era. Initially completed 691 CE, which collapsed in 1016 CE, rebuilt in 1221 CE.
Imam Dr. Ahmad Chasi shared the story of the Sabra and Shatila massacres of 1982. The space near Dome of the Rock is named in honor of those who lost their lives until the very first story.
Yeah, just real quick, I'm going to let Imam mention this because he wasn't going to do it.
1982, Israel invaded Lebanon. My camp was surrounded. Peace treaty was signed that the civilians would be spared. Israelis gave a blind eye to the Christian phalangists who are an extreme Christian groups in Lebanon. The extreme Christian group in Lebanon went in and killed 1,800 people, butchered 1,800 people in cold blood. I didn't know that there was a special place in the Aqsa Mosque for that particular massacre. I was there, I survived that, and came out of that a completely changed person.
The group minus J.K. Owen, who was taking the picture, at the Dome of the Rock, in the background, and the smaller dome of the chain just beside it. Yeah. The latter is used as a prayer house and a place to settle arguments. One thing about the Dome of the Rock, which is very interesting, is when my wife and I, after we got married in 1974, we lived in Israel for about 7 months after we got married, and at that time, we had no problem going into the Dome of the Rock. We were able to see what it was like inside there. Obviously, when we went back this time, there's a restriction and Jews, nobody else can go into the Dome of the Rock and not go into the mosque, which we were able to do at that time. So it just goes to show you how things have changed over the years and what took place.
Yad Vashem means place and name is the memorial for the Holocaust. It's probably best if Mike adds, but if he wants to add there, that's the story.
Reno, who was a Holocaust survivor, was sharing with us, and it so happened that one of the other rabbis on the trip, his grandparents were survivors, as both of my parents were survivors of the Holocaust, so obviously there was a special meeting there of going to the Yad Vashem and what that meant. And they're trying to tell people ahead of time too, in here, was while it's going to be very sad in the history of the Holocaust, the more important things to go and find righteous among nations. That is, those who risked and gave their lives to save Jews during the Holocaust. Because they're all listed in there and it has their stories in there, about 26,700 of them in there. And one of the newest names that was added onto that list was somebody by the name of, an American by the name of Sergeant Rodney Edmonds. And the reason he was put on there, and it's in Yad Vashem now, is because he was captured by the Nazis, and along with other American soldiers, and I think it was Stalag 17, or I may be thinking Catch-22, whatever. But it was one of the Stalags, one of the Nazi prisoner of war camps. And the Nazis knew that they had Jews there. And so they had there were about 1,000 prisoners that were all lined up. And he was the highest ranking member as a sergeant. And they asked him to turn over all the Jews. And he refused to do it. And they asked him again to do it, and he said no. And they put a gun to his head and said, if you do not turn over all the Jews, then we will kill you right here. At which point his response was, we are all Jews. And all the soldiers took a step forward, saying that they were Jews. And so the Nazis let it go, and he ended up saving over 200 soldiers. And he was recognized at Yad Vashem, his name is now.
Keep in mind, this is just day one, so we haven't even finished day one.
Yad Vashem, Hall of Names, see the things on the outside are data files of all the names that have come forward, 4.5 million names for them.
That's just a picture overlooking the countryside into the
Bethany, home of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, and Paul. On the other side of the separation wall in the Palestinian territories, only 1.5 miles from Jerusalem. One side calls it the separation wall, the other side calls it the security wall.
We traveled to the home of the Palestinian family. Actually, that was the family of the Meshtis who created the whole tour that Imad told you about. And Resurrection, which is just inside the West Bank. And you can see Jim and Bill just chowing down.
The big picture of the back wall is the young man who was killed for a month. We did dance. After dinner, this young man went around to all females and pulled them up on how to dance. He's got a great vision.
View of the Temple Mount from the Mount of Olives. Gorgeous view. You can see the Dome of Rock and all the city.
The Western Wailing Wall,
which is the holiest place of the Jews. It's really not part of the temple, but it's the closest part to where the temple was. And it was the only part the Jews could get to be able to pray, because even if you went up to the top of the mountain, Jews couldn't pray there. Here are markers on the way to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Church of the Holy Sepulchre, 2,200-year-old ladder. I thought it was flat.
Yeah. Afterwards, if someone wants to know the story, I can tell you the story of the touching the side of the cross.
Crack under the cross, leading to the bones of Adam.
The slab of stone where the body of Christ was placed.
Crowded market prior to Shabbat. Right after this picture is taken, everything goes deadly quiet. Everything is just the most quiet city I've ever been in.
And that was the market where our Muslim brothers and sisters would do service because of the big one. Location of the Shabbat service on Friday evening. That was also the synagogue where the rabbi used to attend when she lived in Israel. Correct? Okay, I'm sorry. She got married there.
The Judean desert on the way to Masada.
Masada, Herod's fortress, which is really an incredible place. Google it and you can see a lot more poster up pictures and stuff. It's like Jewish hell. Yeah, Jewish hell.
Masada Church constructed by the Crusaders.
Okay, this is the snake trail coming behind Masada. Don't leave this yet. Those of us who the Jewish faith had gone to Masada before, and in our early years we had walked down, the crazy Muslims decided they would do it. You and Bill went in, and they walked in and swore something was in their head that made it do something like that, because they swore they would never do anything like that again. Because it is a treacherous place to come down when you're coming down.
2.5 miles down, it was hot. Somebody said, well, you missed a gift shop. The memories of these guys.
The Dead Sea from Masada, that's a container who was, you can see floating in there, and everyone made fun because they said they thought that there was no way that that water would hold them up.
Floating in the Dead Sea. In order to get on, by the way, there's Lawrence of Reno. Right there. To get to that particular part of the beach, you have to walk through a cosmetic place. They pretty up the beach and they do that licensing probably, right? So I asked Rabbi Harris, I said, I got my wife, anything yet? What should I get her? And she goes, jewelry.
Yeah, that's stuff you can buy in the mall.
People of the earth, Middle East, this is an incredible group of people who are trying to, an environmental group, Jews and Palestinians working together to try and deal with the water shortages that are there, which the Israeli government stifles them from being able to go forward in this area.
Bringing back to Austin, meter of water per year to the Dead Sea because of Israelis and Syria restricting dams to the Palestinian areas.
On the way, 5 a.m. Mass at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. That is those are two Jews walking there, escorting a Christian Jew to a Mass on that early morning.
That was actually Epiphany Sunday. So to be in worship on Epiphany Sunday in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre with Jews and a Muslim woman and a couple of Christians was pretty profound.
One of the over 500 Israeli checkpoints. Yeah, this is the place where our tour guide got taken off the bus.
Okay, when you travel to Israel, and please don't take pictures at checkpoints. It's not really acceptable to do. And I want you to keep the rest of your pictures. Like, please don't.
Get a longer stay.
I mean, go with a film crew that they know you're taking pictures, document what's there. FYI, there are places where it is not acceptable to take pictures, kind of like in the United States. There may be bad things going on there that you need to document. I'm just saying, if you're a regular tourist and there's nothing going on, like pick a different place on of the separation wall to film. That's all I'm saying.
This is one of the many Jewish settlements in the West Bank.
Meeting with members of the Yeshua Council in the Jewish settlement. Halfway through this, I got up and walked out. I'll talk about that later.
The council are the people who administer the settlements. They're the defenders of the settlements. Whenever people come in and want to know about the settlement movement and how they're doing it and why they're doing it and stuff, it's the council who.
Meeting with local Palestinian businessmen in San Bahur and learning about the difficult long process of obtaining permits between the 3 different areas in Israel. This man is from the same hometown as the Stoops, Youngstown, Ohio. He told us a story which we'll let go in about how many passes you have to get from one place to another.
He actually moved back from Ohio after the peace accords, the Oslo peace accords, because he thought he wanted to help the business community in the Palestinian territories that would become a Palestinian state. So he shared that with us. meeting with Sam, phone started going off. Checking in on us, truck killed 4 Israeli soldiers about 10 miles away. Checkpoints got tighter and tour guides were pulled from the bus and all passports were checked.
The damage to the parent circle, some running lost daughters to the conflict, one is Palestinian, the other Israeli, who's been working for peace.
One thing I want to comment, those are the 2 daughters right there. Okay, keep going now. Those are the 2 daughters there, that each of them lost in the conflict. But the one thing I wanted to say about Basir, the Palestinian, he might have talked about the fact that there are many Muslims in the world who reminded there was such a thing as the Holocaust. Basir had never known about the Holocaust, had never read about it, wasn't taught in the Palestinian schools where he grew up. And with his close relationship with his friend, he took him beyond the Shem to show him about the Holocaust, so he would see it himself. He was so moved and understood then why the land was so important for the Jews that he went back and he got a master's degree in Holocaust studies so that he could go into Palestinian schools and teach the kids about the Holocaust so they might have a better understanding. Doesn't mean they will accept it, but at least they would have an understanding of why the land means so much to the Jewish population there.
Part of the approximately 450 miles of separation walls. Down the corner is a almost like a cattle shed where they said up to 30,000 people a day go to work in Israel from Palestine, because that's where the money is. Sunshine, snow, whatever, that's where they go.
Don't be carried away with this.
You know, yeah. I'm just going to toss this in real quick. I graduated from high school in 1967. I was all rah, rah, Israel, Paul Newman, Exodus, Frank Sinatra, and Cast of John Shadow, 6-Day War, rah, rah, rah. And this was a great change. I came back to a changed person also in this. And P.S. Walls, they do one thing, they make people think great. Sorry, that's me. You disagree with me. But what I experienced, walls make people think.
The best graffiti that I saw on the Palestinian side of the wall was 1 wall, 2 jails. I thought that was, of everything I saw, incredible.
The wall outside the refugee camp with a list of 300 children who were killed in 2014, and that's in March State.
Inside the refugee camp.
Manger Square in Bethlehem, only a few miles from the refugee camp.
There's a Christmas tree in every picture from your own Palestinian territory. There's a Christmas tree. It's the same tree.
At the Church of the Nativity.
There aren't that many people who sell Christmas trees in the whole of that, you know?
Under the altar leading to the birthplace of Christ.
Stone on top of the cave stable where he was born.
I'm going to pass this around as I make this comment. I'm standing, Elon was right there next to me in the Church of the Nativity, and he looks at a stack of paper there, and he says, "Oh, second Sunday after Christmas." And I look at the paper, and it's all in Arabic. I'm standing in the birthplace of Christ, and it's all in Arabic. And I'm thinking, and on the Greek Orthodox side of the church, the Christian side and the Greek Latin Christian side and the Greek Orthodox side, Greek Orthodox Church. This is the posting. This is the liturgy sheet, the order of service. It's in Arabic. Why? It's your Bethlehem. It's Palestine. It's complicated.
Under the cave, under the altar, the light in the middle is where the silver star in the previous photo was.
The tree on the way to the 10 nations, one of the last holdouts of the Palestinian Christian family being surrounded by Jewish settlements.
The entrance to the tent of nations, and it says, we refuse to be enemies.
Dawood Nassar explains how all utilities have been cut off and permits to build structures denied. His group has finished out caves in order to live there. This is a Christian Palestinian. He has paperwork going back to the Ottoman Empire more than 100 years, proving this to be his family's land. They had to climb over a large barricade to the hill where the tent of the nations is located.
And they tried to buy it, they tried to run him off by shooting, by destroying 2 different times, a total of about 1,200 of his olive trees that he makes his living off of. So all they've done is, first of all, hardened his desire to stay there where he's surrounded by settlement. But also what it's done is it brings in about 6,000 to 7,000 volunteers a year to help him there. He is not going anywhere.
Interesting Oasis of Peace, mentioned one of the only intentional interfaith communities in Israel is said to be with all 2 or 3 different groups.
Rabbi Harris, I got to tell you this. Rabbi Harris was Googling on her. She was sending a text to somebody saying that we were going to Nev Shalom, and her phone auto-corrected her and said, never Shalom. So, over 70 families of different faiths live together in this community. It's equally divided between Palestinians and Jews. Some of the Palestinians are Christian, but if a Jewish family is permitted to come and stay there, then a Palestinian family is also comes in and stays. But it's equally divided. It is an incredible community and what they have there and what they need to get.
City of Jaffa.
Fishing in the Mediterranean Sea.
That's not us. Arab Jewish Community Center. There were like 4 different, even just those words are problematic because there are Christian Arabs, there are Jewish Arabs, there are people born Jewish who are secular and so on. So just what you call something is important. One point though, all 4 of the places we went where there was very intense Arab Jewish coordination in working with each other, the arts were the most important thing. Okay, every place there was the arts, because you don't dance in Arabic, you don't dance in Hebrew, you don't dance in English, you just dance. Think about that when it comes to supporting the arts in Oklahoma.
Rabin Square in Tel Aviv, the site of Yitzhak Rabin's assassination. How many of you all know the song American Pie? And it says, you know, the day the music died, it was God, the plane crashed. To Palestinians and Jews who believe in peace in the area between the Palestinians and the Jews in Israel and Palestine, they say in November of 1995 was the day that peace died, because that was the day that Rabin was assassinated, and that was the last time that an effort was really getting to try and bring that peace between the 2 sides.
Baha'i gardens in the city of Haifa. There are hardly any Baha'i people in the country, but the leader of Baha'i said, "This is my place. We're going to build this and establish."
It's where they have their headquarters, the international headquarters of Baha'is in Israel, even though they don't actually have a church there. But I believe it is there.
2 tons of alcohol.
Those pictures of us. Oh, what do you think? Okay, if you look at the picture up in the right-hand corner, you can see there are 4 Muslims and 1 Jew there. The Jews in the middle, and that's me. That is the mosque where Imam's grandfather built the 2nd floor that we went into and prayed during that day to his wife, Judith, so that she could see it. And it was the first time that I learned how to pray as we do in Islam. And it was an incredible experience to do it for the first time with Imam. I've been friends with him for many years. We have
there's, I haven't seen any pictures yet, but down there is a guy you can see, he's the one on the left of that same picture. He's wearing a Texas Longhorns shirt. I don't do that very often.
Did you notice?
And it's almost always, and yes, I did. And right next to him always was this guy with his University of Oklahoma salute. Shirt. And it was a symbol that if they could get along.
Well, not quite that. I came out of breakfast the first morning, saw him with that on, and said, this is not going to be a good trip. But we took a picture together, and I texted out, do you think that the Jews and the Palestinians have problems? As we were both wearing our shirts.
I got a great mark shot.
Yes. A new interfaith family focused on sharing the love of our faiths, that our faiths teach. That's all that's there. No,
That's the bathroom that got lost. Me, I'm out of the picture. I was wandering around the first floor, I was in the library, I was in the computer lab, I saw both of our guides, they're like, we don't know where everyone is. I'm like, well, they haven't died and they'll stop walking when they get lost.
And it's us leaving, coming back to America. Before we go really any further, I would like for, pass this down, so I'm not way too much. I want Jim to tell you the story. Now, Jim did get lost. That's a fact. That's just a given fact. He also lost his visa and his passport. And went back. I figured that's because he was a colonel. So like, could you go get my passport? Okay, but the reason why Chip was lost is because he was on the cell phone finding out that his sister had passed away. And he had already told the story of the church. Okay.
Yeah, is there another slide on?
I'm a good looking dude here.
One more
You can
slide?
see your whole face, it's not a selfie shot.
Okay. Hold one more and hold that one. That was, did you hear you guys told we were there for a month?
And these people.
Pictures are so good.
I want now to ask some of the people on the panel here that have not spoken to kind of go down the road here and I guess this is, what is your main takeaway from this? What was the most, the most heartfelt part of it? And so, Dr. Abbasi, you want to say a few things?
Apologize for my tardiness. Thank you, Ben. For me, it was a very difficult trip for me, and some of the folks that you can attest to. I kind of broke down a couple of times. I was in tears. It was very difficult to absorb sort of everything. You hear about it until you go. You just have to go. You just have to be there. But the friends were near Shalom, just to see that glimmer. There are people who are working towards harmony. There are people who want peace. They're a minority, but the movement's there. The desire for reconciliation is there. Because in Jerusalem, it just seemed like there was, you have too much religion. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Somebody said that.
because it seemed that the further away we got from Jerusalem, we went to Jaffa, we went to Haifa, there was a sense of normalcy. But, as you get closer to Jerusalem, the air gets a little bit suffocating. I don't know if there's a better way to describe that. But there is a movement towards peace. And for me, that was the best takeaway. And that was my, kind of what I held on to. Being so down
It's fascinating. We, got back in January. A few of us took an extended trip after we left Jerusalem. A few of us from Tulsa went to Istanbul for a couple of days together, just as we were like, well, this far, we should go a little farther. and spending a couple of days really just vacationing and doing all the tourist stuff and spending time together. But a lot of it included processing what we had just done with our whole group. And you can see on the bulletin that you have, bulletin of such a church person running the program, the pictures of our group. And while it started, Bill mentioned earlier, perhaps more focused on clergy participation, we had a lot of non-clergy with us. Ken's a doctor, and is outreach director, is that your title, at the Islamic Society of Tulsa. We had a sergeant from the Tulsa Police Department with us, and a school superintendent, assistant superintendent from Union Public Schools, and we had folks from non-clergy roles. So we had this great mix of people, of the different walks of life, not just different walks of faith. And so it was interesting to land in this common place together and to instantly start processing what we were seeing and hearing and feeling and experiencing. And our guides would narrate the tour for us beautifully and profoundly. But for me, the even more significant part was being on the bus together or walking down the street together and saying, okay, I heard this word, tell me what that means. Or I saw this symbol, tell me how that works. Or they were talking about this thing that happens and explain to me more about what that means. And so learning from each other in the unofficial capacities was just as important for me. And as a pastor, seminary trained, I've been in ministry more than 20 years. I've been in the faith work for a long time to develop these close friendships and not just collegial relationships with these folks was really profound and significant. And as the imam said when he started, now you know someone, right? So now you know someone who is in that group that gets discussed. And so it can't just be that person anymore. It's someone you know. These are people I've traveled with, cried with, prayed with, laughed with, eaten maybe too much food with. My clothes are all very tight, even still. But to have spent this kind of time together, we learn from each other's lives and each other's experiences, and that to me meant as much as any of the official tour guide, here's the next place we're going, and here's the historical detail that goes with it. Being in the streets and in the bus and around tables together was really, really profound and significant. And these are my people. I mean, when I need something, when they need something, the first call that goes out, can you show up for this? Can you come be part of this? And the answer is always yes. So we have this family now that I treasure and that I wouldn't trade for anything.
I just want to add something real quickly. When Courtney was talking about that, a family, we met twice before we went on this trip in Oklahoma City. Some people were from Tulsa, and some were from the Oklahoma City area. But we met twice, and the Christians and the Jews made a decision that we were at that meeting that we knew that there might be a problem with the Muslims being stopped at the checkpoints and how long they might have to wait there. And we made the decision that we would not leave until everyone had gotten through. When we arrived, you bought this thing that said it was a personal entrance thing, I don't know what it was, but they would get you through real quickly so you didn't have to worry about anything. VIP, that's called VIP, yes. And so, four Muslims, a Jew, and 2 Christians that walked that, right? To go through real quickly. So it actually got him on through. He had never gone to Israel where he had not been stopped with entrance coming into Israel. And this got him through. However, when we got on the other side, one of our colleagues was already being held up, Aliyah Shimi from Tulsa. And we didn't know, and then we found out. So we made the decision that we were going to wait there because one of our group, JK, a Muslim from Tulsa, they decided that they would yank him out, and they took him. So Bill, Jim, myself, as the non-Muslims, and then the rest of the Muslims on the trip were all waiting. We waited for the 2 Muslims there until finally they were allowed to go through. So that kind of immediately cemented us as a group that we made that decision that we were going to do that, and we up doing that. When meanwhile, the people who were on the other side were texting back and forth saying that we're still doing everything is going okay and stuff. So that started. And by the way, I apologized to him before, and I apologize to the people when we talked about the picture and it said walking to Israel. I was the one that wanted that picture taken. Because I just thought, well, here we are, we're trying to describe Israel, and here were the Muslims who were there, Bill and Jim, and I wanted a picture saying welcome to Israel. So, not realizing the significance of what that meant in mind, the Muslims who were on. So, I again apologize.
To paint you a picture real quick of the room we were in, sort of military colored walls, faux leather hospital chairs, a big bottle of water in the corner, and 2 sandwiches, 2 wrapped sandwiches. We do not know how long they've been there. They're still there. As far as
They should have checked their visas before coming through. That's all I'm saying. Sandwiches, if you're having sandwiches.
I asked them if they were ham sandwiches, and that would, you know, some of those guys would eat that. Okay,
Bill was hungry.
so, Ronnie, this has been the personal comments of my travel friends here. Would you show that other special slide I wanted you to compare? This is a wedding in February 4th, 1955. And I am the little guy there in the suit with my hair all slicked back. And that is my brother-in-law and my sister.
Take a deep breath and look at that and take a deep breath.
While we were there, it was about the next to the last day. I got news from my wife. My sister had died. This was my sole remaining sister, the little teenage girl that took me to see Bambi and things like that while her soldier husband was in Korea. So I don't do this.
More motion.
So I was a little down about it, you know, I didn't go, you know, I didn't tell people about it. So I don't know, somebody noticed it, I don't know who it was. And they said, well, how are you? And I said, oh yeah, and I said, oh, my sister. And they went, oh my word. And so within a few minutes, I think everybody knew. And Dr. Taverny, I said, if you had Christian, it's not like real Christian. He's not a head.
One thing that Jim did, not making up names.
So he came up to me and he said, very, very, you know, kind and gentle. I heard that you lost your sister. I said, well, how is it? Way back in Texas, and you know, there's no way I can go home 6,000 miles for a funeral. So he says, maybe you'd like us to have a little service. Service? He said, yeah, well, what day is it? I think it was the next day. And he said, what time is it? And he planned it. It was at, I think it was 10 o'clock in the morning in Texas. It was 6 o'clock in the afternoon in Israel. And it was after a dinner or before a dinner or something like that. Anyhow, they gathered us all up, and I sat in the crowd, and everybody else, and Dr. Taverny said, no, sit up here while we do this. And the imam, and Dr. Taverny, and Rabbi Harris, all three of the traditions did a service. Not a service, exactly, a presentation in their tradition. And I'm just kind of sitting there thinking, wow, how does this happen? And so then he said, Dr. Taverny says, come up, stand up and tell us a little bit about your sister. So I started to tell about this lady that you know, took me to see Bambi, and I know you too, and she always talks about her knows her life. So, but what I noticed about it is kind of like this group right here. Everybody's watching, everybody's listening. cares about it. And coming from teaching school, you look out and they're not going to have those longer speakers. Anyway, the eyes of all these people were fixed on me. And so all I can say is, my sister, who deserved it, that's exactly heaven. But she didn't even make it with 3 different religions taking up for. I don't know who it is. Thank you, folks. I appreciate it. So, this part. Questions. I'm going to be, who's the guy that walks around and says, you have a question? Anybody?
I have a private story of why you walked out of the.
I'm going to introduce these 2 folks right here. Since I retired and I have a little less free time, I decided to become a CASA volunteer. You know what that is? Court appointed special advocate. And these are my bosses. And I brought you a bookmark. I saw one of my new bosses gave me something. But great thing to be done. So anybody interested, by the way, I can pick you up. This is Mike Hillary.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me, for sharing, and learning a lot.
Oh, I've already asked this one. What was it?
He mentioned earlier that he walked out of a meeting. He was talked about it later. I just don't know.
This lady who was talking to us, there were 2 ladies, and then later on, it seemed like they were kind of losing their audience, which they were. They brought in a guy to kind of sit there also. They're very nice. They're very committed. They really believe what they say. They're not making stuff up. But this lady introduced herself, and she, first of all, she had a very English accent. And she was talking to us in this English accent the whole time. She said she's been here since 1984 or something like that. And that the question was, how do you ever claim this land? She said, well, you see, back in the other days, God gave us land to Benjamin. And I was sitting, that's where the turning point came from, because Benjamin is before the monarchy, before Solomon, before David, before Judges. This English lady, this sweet English lady with an English accent, is claiming this particular piece of land on that basis. How far are we from the Cheyenne Arapaho base? That raises the question. So, you speak nice English, right, and so on. And you claim this thing. And our police officer was the first one to say that day, said, this is what goes on. This fits our story. I want Courtney to tell the story a little later.
I want this gentleman to ask a question that he had, and then I'll tell you the last part.
Oh, my only question was, taking pictures, were you pretty limited on what you could take pictures of?
No. The joke is that the police officer in our group kept taking pictures of military equipment. Imagine living in Washington, D.C., go to the White House, there's a fence, there's a vast area of road that you can't drive on, and there's a fence, a big yard, which is not just there to roll Easter eggs down, right? It's also there for security. Then there's the White House, which has like 16 layers of roofs before you get back to anything sensitive. That's not how it is in a country the size of a postage stamp. So, while the Prime Minister's residence has a really thick wall, and there's a bus stop right in front of it. So when you're running for your bus with a backpack, Secret Service agents tend to turn guns on you because you're running with a backpack toward the Prime Minister's house. The day before my wedding, my husband almost got shot because my friend is an idiot. Because across the street from the Prime Minister's residence is a really good pizza place. And it's Jewish tradition not to see your intended spouse before the wedding for a week, which is great, because then you yell at other people instead of at each other. So my family and I are walking down the street, about 2 blocks from the Prime Minister's residence, toward our favorite restaurant for a good quiche. Because they speak English and the dessert's good, and this is where I'm taking my mother and my brother tonight before my wedding. And the boys are taking my soon-to-be husband to get pizza. And one of the guys who's with him sees me down the block and throws my now husband's cap over his face, throws him to the ground, jumps on top of him, and starts shouting, "Nothing to see here! Nothing to see here!" Of course, the bushes erupt with Secret Service agents with guns because they think that some nice American boys have called terrorists. The only person who speaks Hebrew is my husband at the bottom of the pile. But, oh my God, don't shoot me! And point is, everything's in real close proximity. So you shouldn't take pictures of things in Israel that you don't take pictures of here, like military equipment.
If I say your husband with a big beard, I'll stop him too.
Can you tell him now so he'll shave it off? He didn't even have a beard at the time. Just had idiots as friends, that was the problem.
You know, this sort of answers the question that I've had many of you thinking. Is it safe to go to Israel? You better believe it. You don't want to go to Chicago. Israel is safe to do. They took my father away.
If you take road traffic accidents and terrorism and military-related fatalities out of the numbers, you are safer in the Holy Land, no matter what side of the wall you're on, than you are in almost any city in America. There is almost no violent crime. Much of the violent crime there is domestic violence, which is a terrible issue, but is not going to affect you as a tourist. It's very safe. The driving is a little crazy, but there's almost no street crime at all. It's a pickpocketing.
Can I add something to the police officer named Kurt and his wife? First day we were walking into the streets of Jerusalem, and since he's a police officer, he was looking at all the military, and he sees the police with really big guns. But what he wanted to take a picture of is what he called stop and frisk. Because the police right there will stop and frisk anybody who would suspect that would be eventually going to carry on a terrorist attack. And it so happened in maybe hour and a half we were having our first lunch there, the people who were stopped and frisked were people who looked like us. So he wanted to take a picture of the police. I said, I don't think you should pose to take a picture of that at this point, you know. But he was very curious. I mean, everything that has to do with military, with police, with checkpoints. Another point, Jim, I don't know if you know that the hotel where we had the chapel service, there was actually a semi-chapel down there. The guy who owns the hotel is from Oklahoma. He actually grew sod in Stroud, Oklahoma. And so, what are the odds?
But there weren't many limits on pictures. We have, how many pictures, JK, it was 7,000?
Yeah.
I had close to 1,700.
Yeah, and so we had a couple of guys in our group who are sort of hobbyist photographers, so they were sort of the documentarians, hopefully the group's benefit. But we all had cell phones and cameras and that sort of thing, and as long as you could keep track of it, you could take a picture of it. The military things, the walls, the checkpoints are probably not advisable. That every building, every street, every person that we were around, we had pictures of. So we had shared them sort of through thousands of photos together. We saw a very small collection. One of the pictures that was up there, Bill wanted me to tell the story, and I'll keep this brief. It's always risky to hand microphones to clergy people. The ladder at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is sepulchre meaning tomb, so the church was built on the site where we believe that Jesus was crucified and buried. So it sort of covers this large area, and there are 6 different religious groups that run this now tourist site and also still practicing church together. I say they run it together, but they really run it separately together. There are, it's called the Holy Status Quo. There is a map, the most detailed floor plan you can imagine, that literally to the square foot marks out every section of the entire place, inside and out, and who controls which section of it. It is mind-boggling for somebody who's done 3 church building projects that like makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up just thinking about it. Part of what has happened within that is sort of this, it's become more by assumed practice than by actual need that the different areas are managed. And so there's a ladder that you see up on the 2nd story window just outside that, just at the main entrance of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. That ladder has been there from when it needed to be there at some point when someone was repairing, either a pane of glass. There we go. Another group with the ladder. I was trying to remember why the ladder got there in the first place. But now it has been there so long that no one will move it because it belongs to, has to be left. So there it sits. There is one picture that we found where it was actually in front of the other window. So someone has moved it at some point. But it is now back. Any picture you see, anybody that goes on a trip to this area has a picture of that entryway, and that ladder is in that picture, except this one picture is in front of the other window. I'm just so curious as to who moved it and who moved it back. It was amazing. So it's sort of the folklore of the place as much as the theology that's really fascinating.
I have a question here.
Who has the key? Yeah.
That question.
Who has the key to everything in that site? Awesome God. It's the only one they can all trust.
I was there in Easter Sunday one time, and this is the first time I see a cross being used as a sword. So there's a lot of fighting. If you cross, if you're a certain denomination and cross to the other side, of course that's what happened on Easter. There's a lot of people there. It's not a pretty sight. It's just not a pretty sight to see, big clergy, very dignified with beards and, kind of like using their religious artifacts as weapons.
Here's a question.
She's been very well, since he has the mic, he can just answer it. I was wondering, when you got separated or taken off the bus, what exactly did they, how were you greeted?
It wasn't me who was taking out the bus.
Can anybody answer that?
You talking about,
When you were separated from the group and they waited?
Oh, that was at the airport. That was at the airport. That was the very first day.
I think I can answer that. This was when it was,
JK and Leah Shimmy, right?
oh,
They were
so
detained.
we were actually, as Mike has explained before, it's the first time I fly into Ben Gurion Airport. Normally when I go from Jordan through what is known as Limby Bridge. And that's how the boat actually comes from that area. And normally I'm stopped for first time 11 hours, second time 9 hours. And I mean, they're very courteous for the most part. They ask you all kind of questions. They separate me and my wife, and they ask us both the same questions back and so on and so forth. So to go into Ben Gurion Airport, I actually got that room psychologically ready, said, listen, you guys are gonna have to go ahead without me, I'll find, But when he says, welcome to Israel, and gave me the visa, I said, are you sure? And to come out to see Aliyah and JK held in that, we were not there more than 2.5 hours. But for me, I'm not going through the bridge no more. I'm just gonna go through the airport, and it's much easier.
So Aaliyah and I are very close friends, and we traveled together from Tulsa. And we had sort of talked about it in advance, that this was probably going to happen. We also didn't him. But what was interesting was that she said she was asked, I can't remember how many times, about what is Interfaith, because they ask you, where are you from, where are you going, why are you here? That was literally all I was asked. So white, middle class, American girl with an American passport, that's what I was asked. I was through the gate in 10 seconds. She was 2.5 hours answering questions about her grandfather's address, her great-grandfather's address. Where is her family from? Where is she from? She kept saying Tulsa, we didn't believe her. She's like, I was born there. So the questions, and it's just a repetitive series of the same question over and over to see if your story will change. And since it wasn't going to, she kept answering the same way. The interesting thing was when it concluded, and I don't know if this is the same for JK, but when it concluded, she said that the man who was questioning her said, is there anything else that I should know? And she said, you've been asking me questions for 2.5 hours. I'm glad to tell you anything else. And so she asked him, where are you from? Where does your family live? How many children do you have? So they had this whole conversation. At the end of him asking her all of these questions to get into the country, she, in the way that only Elliot can, kind of turned it around and made it this lovely conversation. And she was talking about his family and where they were from and how long they lived there and that sort of thing. But, and literally it was a very obvious case of kind of like American middle class privilege coming through versus what our colleagues were forced to go through.
When you leave, in our whole group, they pulled out Rabbi Harris and began the same process with her. She had to physically go in front of each one of us. Yes, I know, yes, I know, yes, I know, or we're leaving this way. And the question came up, why are they doing that? You're leaving. The answer was, well, you might want to come back someday, and they want to make sure, I'm not sure.
And then when we were leaving, we all went into the one, like entering the airport. My wife and I were the only one pulled aside and asked for our papers. And I just like, any American that said, are you racially profiling us? He said, yes.
Okay.
Can I add one thing about the interfaith, because Courtney brought that up, which, there was a very positive thing that happened as far as the interfaith community was concerned. When we went up to the Temple Mount, we were warned ahead of time, as Christians and Jews, do not wear anything the rabbi had to take off for yarmulke. Everybody else had to take off, or to hide a cross, or a egg that they were wearing. So all of it was hidden or taken off, including Rabbi King from Tulsa. Okay, so we're going through the checkpoint, and lo and behold, everybody had to put their bag down, and I put my bag down, totally forgetting the bag that I brought, that I carried with me. And it was an interfaith bag that had a Star of David, a crescent, and a cross on it. And so I was immediately flagged.
Was offending everybody.
So they started saying, what is this? And I was explaining, and I said, well, you can't come in, and I didn't know if the whole group was not going to be allowed to come in. So they called the sergeant over who was in charge, and he said, which bag is it? And I explained, that it was my bag, and it was in everybody's bag, and what that was, and so he said to the other guards, it's okay, let me go through, so they gave me the bag. And as I started to walk out, he called me over to the corner, and he stuck his hand out and shook my hand and said, thank you very much, because of what you believe and what we're doing there as far as an interfaith group. Now, it was a very positive team that was going up to the Temple Mount.
Well, Mike doesn't know that the officer was Palestinian, and I spoke to him in Arabic.
I'm not a little too afraid yet, it's okay.
Well, this is only an hour and 45 minutes of this trip, and we had them for 3 days ago. But any more individual questions, some burning question you've been wanting to ask, and you time ran out. It's like, I used to work to you.
Yeah, we're going to leave. I'm not going to ask you questions.
So number one. Number two.
Like number one?
All right, so I tell you what, I don't know what it was. There was something just really fun about this thing. And this is because it was interfaith, and we didn't care. Who's going ahead and who's not. And so say, we'll just decide when we get there. We'll decide the things, you know? So we'll see what happens. Maybe the others, or some don't make it, others, so we'll put in a good word.
There were some competitions that we weren't going to take out.
Oh, for the water.
Cameron, Beth, and I, we had a step contest. We measured our steps, who could walk the most. So afterwards, he became my step brother. We talk to each other, but he's my step brother now. So.
All right. Reverend Colby Richards, Harvard Avenue Christian Church. Would you please see if you can stop this thing?
Thank you all for joining us this afternoon and for giving your time to be here. Thanks to Bonnie Fields and the good folks here at First Christian Church for having us. To Judy Hamby for playing as we gather, and we love having piano music to begin. It was lovely. Thank you so much for that. We know that you have a lot of choices and things to do. I mean, lovely time with operating Sunday afternoon in Oklahoma, and the fact that you chose to be here with us this afternoon is a real gift to us. We are only representative of a much larger group, not just the 22 who traveled together, not just the groups that are to come. Hopefully some of you might be interested in a trip. The next one will be early next year through the Oklahoma Conference of Churches, through the Religions United Subcommittee. But we represent an interfaith movement that I have to believe is more important than it has ever been. These are our people. We belong to each other. We were made to be together. We were created to be together. And we can't be our best selves if we're not together. So thank you for coming to be part of this, and I hope that you've heard at least one story that you'll hang on to and that you'll share with someone else, particularly if it's a chance to enlighten and explain and offer words of compassion and hope. We certainly need those words. And if you are not going to offer them, who will? I have a colleague who used to tell us that when we spent time together preparing for mission work or for service projects, and then go somewhere to a new location and meet in the community, she would say, now that you have been, you leave with experiences and with stories and as advocates. So you are now advocates for interfaith relationships, for friendships that transcend into the borders that people would try to put around them, and you are advocates for the way of peace that is proclaimed in all of our faiths. So thank you for coming to be part of this, and we look forward to opportunities to be together again. Let me offer a prayer for us before we go. Gracious Holy One, who has created all of us, each of us, together in your image. Your image is only complete when it includes us all. And so we are here with thanksgiving and with praise. We are here with concern and with need. But we are here with family and friends. We are thankful for this family of faith, for the one who has drawn us together, and for the one who sends us into the world. You are the creator. You are the spirit that moves above us and binds us together. It is your wisdom that fills us. It is your courage that gives us strength. You are the compassionate one, the merciful one, the one who teaches us, who makes us who we are. So send us now, guide us and direct us, that we might speak and act and love and live in ways that you would have us, that we might be each day more and more the people that you have called us to be. We pray together as one people, in your name and for your sake. Amen.
If you have time, please go down to the fellowship hall and meet these folks and shake their hands. Be on Facebook, friends, or whatever you do.
Thank you.